can't make this shit up. I'm Kellen Clark, Angelina Rahman, David Washington. We are your political innovators and your hosts here today. Angelina, what brings us here?
All right. So before we officially begin this discussion, I would like to address that this episode is something that has been on my heart for a long time now. My thoughts and prayers go out to the victims who were affected. So, as we all have heard, in the beginning of August, one of the deadliest wildfires in the country took place in Maui, following an estimated death toll of at least 115 people and more than 1,000 still remain missing. So, what do you guys think?
Well, from my perspective, of course, this is a sad incident.
Absolutely.
I'm still trying to understand how it all happened.
Mhm.
I think most of us. I was hoping to visit Maui sometime in the next year, 2 years. I'm sure it's affected tourism,
Absolutely.
and I know I've seen headlines of about the situation in Hawaii and how they're asking tourists to don't forget them to
Right.
please continue the plan to go visit Maui. So it's a sad occurrence. I know there's conspiracies about this.
Yes.
And
Mostly
I'm
on
ready
my
to hear
side of the aisle.
Okay.
But how about you? What do you think, Helen?
I mean, a lot of explanations thus far have been divisive across the board. As you mentioned,
Absolutely.
conspiracy theories have run rampant like they do
Also
on
known as
every
journalist.
as they run in every aspect of government day-to-day life these days. Something that was often brought up was the not only just bad weather but also poor keeping of the land.
Right.
And I think that what we should have, this should be a moment of clarity to, because people think environmentalism, all they think is carbon emissions these days, but
Absolutely.
you got to take care of your land or else your land can't take care of you. I think that should have been the wake up call, but that's not what we got. We got lasers.
Whew.
Really, lasers. Is that the conspiracy?
One of them.
Yeah, so that's one of them. So one of the conspiracies that formed was because apparently some rich people's houses, apparently the Lord just loves them, and the fire didn't affect their homes at all.
Really?
Really?
Like the Oprahs of the world?
Yep, the Oprahs of the
A
world.
lot of them.
And to touch upon Oprah and The Rock had the audacity of asking us poor people to donate our money. Now, usually I'm on top of this, but at the same time, you two, one is a billionaire, the other is a multi-millionaire. You guys are the ones who can actually fix this.
They a couple days after that gave a massive donation to SAG-AFTRA, which is a very good cause, and obviously it hits very close to home for them. But this one apparently doesn't hit close to home, despite the fact that it is literally close to home. They also have some people have also inquired, hoping that a lot of these lands of some of these wealthy people, just like on a temporary basis, like some of their massive front lawns could be used. As I mean, a lot of the reasons, because you're right, the fact that they were less affected was an origin point for some people. A lot of the areas that they swept through were very dense.
Yes.
Okay.
Dense in grass, dense in trees, dense in houses. You've seen a millionaire's lawn, it's just huge flat land. It's not going to burn as well, even if the fire does get there.
Okay.
So that's something else. And it's not just about rich people's houses. It's a never-ending cavalcade of very intentional misinformation on some people's parts.
Absolutely.
Just a couple of questions for you all, because you all are more versed in this than I am. My first question is the folks like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, Oprah Winfrey, and the other wealthy people who have estates there. Have they opened up their property for those who have been affected, like to temporarily house on their property or anything like that?
That I'm aware of.
They have been called to. They have all refused.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now, when we're talking about tilling the land, the farmland, we're talking about the pineapple farms, or is there other
Not
industry in
entirely.
the
It's
other
it's
farming?
more about the brush, like the lands that are just brush and like just grassland,
Okay.
because it, it stems from non-native species that that grew
Okay.
way too dense, but are like where they grew a ton of this ground cover, but the ground cover itself isn't of thick leaf. Like you go to Saint, like if you go here, you have the St. Augustine grass. It's
Correct.
the thick blades of grass. It'll cut your foot if you step on it.
Mhm.
That's a
Wow.
joke. And it's joined by this dense root system that can
Yes.
ruin knives. Versus if you go out to Utah and Idaho, where I'm from, the grass are these little tiny dainty blades that are pillows. If so, you have these two different things, and because we have more dense land, it's important to have more dense plants, more firm roots,
Okay.
thicker leaves, more hydration, more water content. Maui, and this is in a lot of places in the US, has a massive amount of non-native grass that doesn't hold as much water and burns easier.
Ah, okay, okay, all right. So that helps me understand the extent of the problem.
Right.
Okay, all right,
And,
Anjali.
and also, to piggyback off of what you were saying, a lot of the reasons why the fires, at least based off of my understanding, the reason why the fire spread so drastic is because of the hurricanes. And so the winds from the hurricanes spread the fires much more than it traditionally would have.
Right, they have
Mhm.
had tropical cyclones
Cyclones.
Yeah.
that have recently gone past Hawaii or were in the area during the fires. Has there been a cause yet, or determined in regards to how the fire started?
So I heard that it was something with a power oh my goodness, I can't even think of it.
I don't know what caused it, so
Yeah,
take
so
it
a
away.
power line, I guess. So that's what they're also saying is a possible cause of what
Alright.
happened.
Has Hawaii been experiencing any kind of like drought conditions or anything like that? I know most of the mainland United States has. So I was thinking maybe that contributed to perhaps some of the fires. And I'm just coming off with a whole bunch of
No,
questions.
you're all
I
good.
mean, no, there's 1,001 reasons that
Right.
fires can happen, and it's only natural for us to look at explanations. She's doing the hot research
Yep.
to see if they're under drought conditions. Not,
And
not that I'm aware of. The wind was obviously a severe factor,
right,
probably the cause of it too, because it can spread the fire over that thin
right.
brush.
Also, the response by the governor. I know that was
Yes.
called into question. Can you eh,
Okay.
talk
So
about
sorry.
that?
Okay. So apparently, based off of what I saw to answer your previous question, so the rising global temperatures and drought have helped has helped turn parts of Hawaii into one of the okay, so it's
Yeah.
pretty much not answering our question. Okay.
So kind of, but
Yes.
not in an unusual capacity.
Okay. So that does answer, that question.
But anyways,
Okay.
we're not just here to discuss the mechanics of burning
Yes.
crap. We are here to also discuss responses,
Yes.
not just from leaders, but from also covered these weird conspiracy angles and the
Yes.
social media companies' responses to these conspiracy angles.
Okay.
And I
Exactly.
know you wanted to talk a lot about the responses from the executives. So take us
Yes.
away.
So, like David was mentioning, some of our leaders' reactions to this was, let's just say, concerning. So, for instance, Sleepy Joe was literally falling asleep during one of the memorials that was taken in respects of those whose lives were taken, right? And also, he made a very insensitive joke. So while he was there in Maui, keep in mind this man was on vacation, living his best life during the times that these fires took place. So with Biden, he decided that he was going to try to sympathize with the locals and say, you know what, I understand what you're going through because I experienced a kitchen fire. It was tragic. I can't remember the exact model of the car, but he said that his car was affected by it. and his wife and his cat.
I mean, I
Insert
feel for the
tear
cat.
emoji here.
I feel for cats, frankly.
Nah, cats are demons. Anyway. Oh my goodness. You really can't make this stuff up. But yes, so my question is, if this was any Republican leader, the media would have been covering this. The media would have been like, oh, well, what is wrong with Donald Trump? What is wrong with Ron DeSantis? If they even thought of making such an insensitive joke like that, if
Okay.
they didn't leap to help out while they were on vacation, they would have been scrutinized for this. So why is it that whenever a Democratic leader does this, we don't question this at all?
They did. Not every media outlet did the same way. Not every media
yeah.
outlet attacks Republicans. I mean, I heard about it relentlessly from Forbes. I heard it relentlessly from Fox. No, obviously,
Fox, the Daily Wire.
You know, yeah, Daily Wire. Those kinds of, like, there was a lot of media that was covering it still. I mean, it was just different media, and I mean, simple bias. You know, our media in the country is controlled by 4 companies. If the people at the top have a bias, it will roll down through. It'll run through the system. It comes. You know, it can run from the Murdoch. It can run from NBC at large. It can run from anywhere. And I mean, and it's easy for us to always just criticize media, but it's you're always going to end up in the same place.
I know I did not see the comments about President Biden on the media that, you know, comes across my screens, the liberal media that comes across my screens. I did hear mention of his lack of, or his poor response. I believe it was on Washington Journal and C-SPAN. So yeah, I think the coverage was maybe, like you said, lacking
for sure
amongst all of the media. But I heard it and I just kind of rolled my eyes and, you know, finished watching C-SPAN and listening to viewer comments. But yeah, I get that. I get the cause of concern.
And there's also a very irregular pattern when it comes to disaster response. I mean, this past summer we have seen disaster after disaster after disaster. East Palestine train derailment. We have Maui wildfires, Idalia. The one that got by far the most attention and well thought out response was Idalia.
Exactly.
The one that had the least impact by country miles plural. Maui had the most deaths, immediate deaths of any disaster we've had here in America. And
well, could that be because, I mean, for us, because we are in Florida, that there was so much, you know, attention to Idalia versus, you know, Ohio, where East Palestine.
He hasn't gone to Ohio at all.
Not yet.
No, he recently said that he hasn't gotten around to it and doesn't know when he will.
Right.
It has been months. It's been months. He's late. The shot's been shot. He's lost his opportunity.
Right. Okay. All right.
But I do like what David mentioned of, you know, obviously we are in Florida. So of course, you know, we have what's his name? I was about to say Tom Brady, but that's not his name. We have Ryan Shields. We have all those news medias covering Idalia. Of course, if you're in Florida, you know that the least amount of clothes that the meteorologists are wearing, that's how you know if you should take the storm seriously or not.
Wait a second. What show am I watching?
You're like,
the shit show.
The least amount of clothes. Wait. Oh yeah.
There's no jacket, no tie. If their cuffs are rolled up, yes, they are clothed.
They're fine.
They are fine.
I'm watching the wrong media. Hello.
Where's the striptease on my news channel?
Is this Univision? Telemundo.
Oh my goodness. I thought that everyone knew that. Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry. I do know of the what is it? The Waffle House Index. I am aware of that.
I mean, the only widespread use of the Waffle House Index was the pandemic.
Right.
Because
Okay.
then the waffle that was the no matter a volcano could erupt over a Waffle House and stay open, but COVID was the one that got him.
Exactly.
Crazy.
COVID.
Can't make this shit up.
But I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're all good. But
That's
I do
about-
like the fact that you did address the fact that maybe us Floridians we didn't see those fires as much because we were, dealing with the crisis of our own. But however, I think that nationally this should have been even more blown up than it has been. But I also do want to just talk about the fact that people are questioning what's going on. And I think that people are getting so much scrutiny just for simply just asking questions. Now, way back in the day, we used to just call that journalism. We used to call that being curious, right?
Right.
Now we just scrutinize people and we just label them as conspiracy theorists, give them the little tinfoil hat. And I think that is what is going on because people are acting as if our government has always been completely transparent with us. And we all know that
That's
that is
not true.
complete and utter
No,
that is
they
not
still
true.
haven't declassified JFK.
Ooh.
No comment on that one.
Yeah, it's either something really disturbing or something really stupid that they're not declassifying, and I really want to know what one day.
one day,
But-
one day.
Well, and you're right. People, it's easy for a lot of people to say, just accept it, man.
Right.
But that being said, there is also the point where you drift into complete absurdity, cherry picking, and sometimes making shit up to get to force your narrative. One of the main pieces of evidence used for the laser attack that it was a government test, obviously in a populated area, because why wouldn't they do it anywhere else? Was the fact that everything blue survived the fire. No, it didn't. Things that were blue burned down. Things that were not blue did not
Exactly.
burn down. It was made up evidence and it's been championed by a
Yes.
lot of people and sometimes even major outlets.
Absolutely.
Purely made up evidence.
Wow. Everything blue allegedly
Yes.
did not get
Yes,
Yes.
that the
affected
end.
at all.
Yes,
Protected
they were
quote, unquote.
saying that it was an energy weapon tuned to a wavelength, tuned to a frequency, sorry, and that it was able to target every color but blue. But it also burned down blue and it also burned down
Absolutely.
non-blue.
Right.
So
And there are military bases in Hawaii.
yeah, mostly Navy.
Right.
Funny energy weapons are in the desert. Everybody knows this.
I believe there is an army base there too. But yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. That is some conspiracy
Yeah.
theory.
Oh, yeah.
And on another level, there are even people who have, there's even a small handful of people. This is literally, there was like 10 different people posted that they had seen the laser. Not nobody bothered to record seeing a giant laser from the sky
Right.
though. You're telling me that the situation of the fires is too hard to believe, but that a giant laser was in the sky and nobody recorded it.
But then again,
Like
I mean,
hell.
if the island is, on fire, literally,
Mhm.
are you really gonna think to whip out your phone and be like, "What's
Yes.
going on?" Now, I mean, I know that we are
More
living
than
in
you think.
2023, but I think that the fact that there wasn't much of that, I
Mhm.
think, is a good sign as opposed to being a bad sign. But before we go into our final word, I just want to just encourage everyone: please ask questions, please be curious.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we are not saying that any of this stuff, regarding the conspiracy theories is factual. However, we want to find out the facts and we want to demand our government that they give us the facts. So I'm going to turn to you guys. So what is your final word?
Yes, I'm going.
Mhm.
Absolutely be willing to question stuff. But if by questioning stuff you immediately subscribe to a different view but don't question that one,
Mm,
you're self-defeating your purpose.
absolutely.
And social media, the news, they'll always have to thread the needle between free speech and letting people say what they want.
Yes.
But there also is the question of whether or not it's fine to censor complete made up crap that is being used to try to turn people to a certain way that is made up.
I'm not as well read on this particular issue as the two of you are. However, it's disappointing to hear that The Rock, Oprah have not, as far as I'm aware, have not opened their properties, their estates, to help those affected by the fires. It's very unfortunate. I hope that it doesn't happen again. I know that the environment, the land itself, may be of issue, like you were saying, Kellen. As you stated at the very beginning, you know, our hearts do pour out to those affected, and hopefully this does not happen again. Hopefully that the Hawaii government are reacting appropriately and take proactive measures to prevent a disaster like this from happening in the future. Um, on that note, that's my final word.
Awesome.
And on his final word, like, comment, subscribe, share. It's a proactive
Yes.
measure to ensure that you get good content.
Exactly.
You can't make this shit up. Thank you.